I'm going to share with you exactly what I did to turn my finances around, and it's not what you'd expect. Everybody on YouTube is saying that you need the dollar cost average, invest in the S&P 500, reduce your expenses, do all these different things. There's one specific thing, and I'm going to share with you exactly what it is and how you can do it too. I used to be in a lot of debt. I had really bad credit, and now I'm to the point where I don't hold any credit card debt month after month at all anymore. My credit's well into the 700s. And on top of that, I'm gaining interest on my money every single month. So I'm basically getting paid to have money every month. And the one thing that I did to be able to make this happen is something called identity shifting. Now, if you don't know what that is, stick with me. I'm going to explain it in a really simple way and tell you some stories so that this really hits home and you're able to apply it to your life. But identity shifting is what made all the other changes possible. Before I could explain what identity shifting is, let's explain the common problem, right? Everybody knows, a lot of us know, okay, reduce expenses, don't buy stuff that you don't really need. Also, dollar cost average, invest a certain amount every single month, whether it's into a high yield savings account or very secure stocks, right? But we know that these are the things that we need to do, but for some reason, we can't end up doing them consistently. Have you ever experienced that? Maybe you start doing it. I did. I would start investing, I would start saving, and then the next month, I feel like I wouldn't have as much money for the things that I wanted or that I needed in my life. And then, so the month after I would start, month two, I would invest or save less. And then I would kind of rebound. It's almost like people that go on like a fad diet and they do all like an extreme diet and cut out every single carb and every granular like speck of sugar out of their diet, and they lose a bunch of weight in 30 days. And then they say, I did it. And then the next month, like the diet's over, they just go completely off the rails and they gain all the weight back. Right. And so this is what would happen with my budgeting and with my investing as well. And it's why I was never able to actually create real lasting change. And maybe you've experienced this too. And that's why I wanted to share this. And this actually is because of not shifting our identity. And so, what does that mean in the first place? Shifting our identity. And so, just to break down some definitions so that we're really clear, our identity is basically it's the story that I tell myself about who I am in my head. The story that I tell myself that, okay, Ron is, it's like who I am, the things that I like, the things that I don't like, the things that I need to just do for whatever reason. And so this story, the habits and behaviors that I have come out of this story that I have of who I am and what I like to do and what I don't like to do, and the things that are easy for me and the things that are hard for me, the stuff that I'm continually affirming to myself in my mind. uh, those create my habits and my actions in my day-to-day life experience. And so what a lot of people do, and what I tried to do too to create lasting change, is I want to just change the habits. I want to just change the actions and the habits. And that works for like a month. I can do that for like a month, and it seems really hard. I'm like really struggling to make sure that like I don't buy this thing, right? Let's say that I want to like spend less, and I'm used to spending a lot of money on just random stuff on the internet, just shopping on Amazon for things I don't really need. And but I really want to be saving and investing. And so I might be able to get through a month of not spending a whole bunch of money on Amazon on things I don't need, but it seems really hard. I'm like, oh, I gotta like put in a lot of mental effort to not do this thing. And when reality, in reality, all I really need to do is change the story that I tell myself of who I am. And then the habits change automatically. And so how do we do this in the first place, right? And I'm going to share something, a really simple strategy for this. This could be really complex if I wanted it to be, but I don't think that that will be that helpful for you if I just overload this with complexity, right? Uh, the easiest way that I found for myself to change my identity, to change the story, which ultimately leads to the habits changing long term, is I simply have to take the time to do it. It's not a mental exercise that I just do in my head. I pulled out a piece of paper and I wrote down my current identity. Like forget the goal, right? Right. We have this goal of we want to save this much and invest this much and eventually have this much money or security blanket or whatever it is, right? Whatever it may be for you. But forget the goal. First we need to figure out, okay, what's the starting point? Where are we at right now? Because just like I want you to imagine this. This is what a lot of people do when they try to transform themselves. But imagine this scenario. Imagine that you wanted to go to a destination, which is the goal, right? That you want to go to a specific place. But imagine you wanted to travel somewhere in the world. And you go online, you go on like priceline.com or whatever, wherever you buy your airplane tickets. And you say, I want to travel to Thailand. Like, let's go to Thailand. And you just type it in Google, airplane tickets to Thailand. Well, you can't get to that destination. You can't even find the price of the tickets unless you type in where you are starting from. Like what's the departing airport, right? Um, and and depending on where the departing airport is, it's going to totally affect the the travel time, the price of the tickets, and the strategy, like how many different plane ticket or plane rides are going to have to take to get there. It's going to affect all of that. So we have to know our our starting point before we can really map out the destination. And so it's the same with our identity. We have to thoroughly know our identity. A lot of times our identity is created unconsciously. So how do we do this when it comes to identity shifting? Well, first and foremost, we have to write down. Um, there's some common questions for this. It's like, okay, uh, write down. I'll just give you the questions right now, like some simple ones. So number one, what are some things that you love to do, that you absolutely just love to do all the time? Like, if anybody suggests that, hey, we're gonna go do this, you're always like, I'm down. Let's do it. And so write those all down. And number two is, what are some things that you hate to do, that like no matter what, you're like, I'm not gonna do that. I hate that. I don't like doing that. And write all those down. These are key things for our identity. Anytime that we're like, I really love to do this, I don't like to do this, that's part of your identity. It's part of the story that you've told yourself about who you are. And so we want to write those things down. And we want to also write down ask yourself, what do other people think of you? If other people are gossiping about you when you're not around, what are the things that you think that they are saying? You want to write that down too. And I know that this seems really weird right now. You're like, what does this have to do with finances? Just stick with me. I promise you, this is gonna make it. This is gonna make sense. Um, and so when you write all that stuff down, you've kind of engineered this backdoor hack to be able to see what you really think about yourself. Because when you write down what you think other people are saying about you, like nobody's saying that. This is a story. Like you've made this up in your head, right? This is what you think of yourself. And but we've done it in a way because we like to think really highly of ourselves. If I say, hey, what do you think of yourself? Well, you're gonna write something different than when you fill in the story of what you think other people are saying about you. That's really what you think about yourself, right? And you know these things that you like and these things that you don't like. And now, um, That's your current self. This is the airport that we are leaving from, right? Because the results that you have in life right now are based off of you being your current self, your current identity. If we want to change those results, we change the identity and the habits follow. So you think about where you want to be with your investing and with your finances, with your budgeting, with your saving. And instead of thinking of all the things that you need to do to get there, we need to really imagine the person that you need to become. Imagine your future self that has already accomplished these goals and done it in an effortless way. I want you just to imagine yourself in 5 years that's accomplished what you're looking to do financially. They've already done that, and they've done it, and they continue to do it, and they do it in a way that's just like effortless for them. Like they don't have to struggle to budget. It's just easy for them, right? And so I want you to imagine this person, and then we're going to ask the same questions. Okay, that version of you who does all this stuff effortlessly, it's just no problem for them. What are some of the things that that version of you really loves to do? And you write this down, right? And then you ask, okay, what are some things that that version of you, the one that's successful in this area in a way that's successful in this area in an effortless way, what are some things that that version of you would never do that the current version of you does? What are some things that the current version of yourself is doing that that successful version of you would never do? This is where we get like the juicy stuff. So you write this down, and it's like, oh, it starts to give you, it starts to like you get to blatantly see the things that you're doing right now that are preventing you from having the success that you want with your finances and with your budget. And on top of that, we ask the third and final question: what are the things that people are saying if people are in a cafe and they're gossiping? Can't even talk. What is that? If people are in a cafe and they're gossiping about this future version of you, what are the things that they're saying? And so after you write this stuff down, we look at these two pieces of paper, and then we say, okay, what can I do today, right now, in this moment, to be more like this future version of myself that I've mapped out? And we do that day after day. And we strive to become the person, the version of ourselves that can achieve these goals effortlessly in an effortless way. And what you'll find is it becomes a lot easier to do like the dollar cost averaging, or to put a little bit of money into investments every day or every paycheck, or whatever, because we're doing it from this new identity. And this doesn't really work when we try to do it all in our head, though, because once we have these mapped out, you want it written down somewhere. And what you do is, instead of trying to like brute force your way into change that lasts forever, all you do is, in the morning every day, you look at the North Star. This is where now you can start to look at the destination. This is the version of you that you want to become. You look at what you wrote out. Because this is the map. It's like, okay, this is the version of Ron that I want to become. This version of Ron that can achieve these things effortlessly, loves to do these things, never does these other things. This is what people think about him. And then, because I read that in the morning, then I'm able to move throughout my day. It's kind of like cemented unconsciously into my mind. And then I can start to make decisions unconsciously that really lean towards that version. It makes it a lot easier, so that when I go to the store and I see a bunch of stuff that I don't need but I feel like I want, I realize, like, wait, no, that's the old version of Ron that wants these things. The new version of Ron doesn't want these, because The new version of Ron knows that, well, I can take that money and put it in my high yield savings account or put it into my investment portfolio, and that's going to feel really good. And so now we can start to, instead of self sabotaging unconsciously, we can start to build success unconsciously when we have a roadmap and a destination. Now, I've done this in many areas of my life. This works for finances, but this works for any type of transformational change. This is how I got sober. I do go to a 12-step program, um, but the 12-step program really embodies these principles, um, and so it's striving to be a better version of ourselves. And then there's some action and some things that we can do to do that. And this is what I've done to go from working as a housekeeper at a hospital to eventually working as a sales rep in an online company, working completely remote with my own business. And now I'm transforming again and going to school for accounting because I realized like I actually really want to be in the corporate world and kind of like higher up in business. And I really like finances. And so that's why I'm going to school for accounting. That's why I'm making videos about finance. And and I'm doing all the things that the future version of Ron, the future version of me that I've mapped out, uh, that just does effortlessly. And talking about finance every day and videos like this, like that's whatever, that's no problem, that's easy. And the future version of me also really loves to be able to give back and help other people out who are in the same position that I used to be in. And so here, that's why we're on YouTube making videos about this stuff. And it's not hard to do because I know that like, oh, I'm growing into the version of me. And as long as I'm going in that direction, I'm a success. And the rest of the stuff, all the little actions, the rest of the stuff, the investing and the saving and the different learning of different things that help assist in that transformation, they're all just byproducts of me growing into this other version of myself. And so I don't have to get lost in the weeds of exactly what to do because I can trust that as long as I'm growing into this more successful version of myself that I've mapped out on a day-to-day basis, the right thing to do, like whenever there's a turning point, I'm going to make the right decision. And so one of the reasons that I map this out is because number one, it works. It's worked for me. I'm sure it'll work for you as well. But number two, there's always things that we can't really account for in life. There's things that happen that and we don't know how we're going to respond to them. And whenever there's transformational change at stake, in my experience, I have a decision how I'm going to react or how I'm going to respond. And that response is usually going to be more in line with the current version of myself that I'm trying to change, or it's going to be more aligned with the version of myself that I'm looking to grow into. And as long as I'm responding in a way that is in alignment with the version of myself that I am looking to grow into, the version of myself who can achieve the things that I'm looking to achieve in an effortless way, then I am winning. It's kind of like there's this saying that says that a missile is never on target. I want you to imagine a missile being launched, right? It launches out of its silo and it's going somewhere and we'll say that it's like a test run. So it's going to like a remote little island just to see if everything works, right? And the whole time that it's in the air, the missile is off target. It's like it's going up. It's like, well, the island's over here, and so it corrects and adjusts, and then it moves a little bit and it corrects and adjusts, and it moves a little bit and it corrects and adjusts. And it just does that the whole time that it's flying until it hits the target. And so that's exactly what we're doing with this strategy. We don't have to know every single little adjustment that we're going to make before we even get off the launch pad. All we have to do is know the target and just keep adjusting slightly towards it. And the target is not the result. The target is the person that we need to become that can achieve the result effortlessly. That's the target, is that identity. And so let me know what you guys think about this. Hopefully it was helpful. This is really unconventional when it comes to investing advice. I don't see anybody else talking about this. And I think that this is going to be really helpful for people who are in a really bad financial spot, who are looking to change that. If you already have a lot of momentum, your missile's already in the air, you've already been going for a while, you may know some of this. You may hear this stuff that I'm saying in this video and be able to look back on your personal experience and be like, whoa, I actually kind of did that. I didn't even realize that I did. But for those of you who are looking to make change that you haven't made yet, this is how you do it. Hopefully that helps. See you in the next one.